everyone, it's Steven from SEL Fitness. Thanks for tuning in. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I make celery juice using a blender. So as you may already know, drinking celery juice on a daily basis is super beneficial for your health. The benefits are seemingly endless, so it's good for cleaning out the liver, it's great for your digestion, lowers your cholesterol, lowers your blood sugar, it's full of antioxidants, and it's even good for your skin, just to list a few things. So on average, you'll need one large stalk of celery, and that's going to produce 16 ounces of pure celery juice. Personally, I like to add a little bit more volume, so to do that, I add a few more ingredients into the mix alongside the celery. So by the time I'm done making my celery juice with all the ingredients, I'm able to fill up this mason jar here, which is 24 ounces. And I also have some excess. So if you use my recipe, you're going to be able to create 24 ounces and up to 32 ounces in total. Alright, so without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so before we get into it, I'm just going to go over some of the items that you're going to need in order to make this happen using a blender here. This is what we call a nut milk bag. So if you don't have this, you won't be able to make your celery juice by using a blender. You're going to need an actual juicer, because once we're done blending it up, it goes in here and we squeeze it out. So you're going to need a strainer. So obviously you need to clean the celery and whatever ingredients you're going to be using. Next thing, I like to use a saucepan. So once I put everything that's blended up into the nut milk bag here, I'm going to use the saucepan to squeeze it out. So you can see that if you use something else that's smaller, squeezing this out is going to make a big mess. So you're going to want something like that. Obviously you're going to need a knife here. So we're going to be chopping up the celery and all these other ingredients so they can fit in here and blend up nicely. And to chop it up, you're going to need a cutting board. And last but not least, you're going to need a blender. So this right here is the Ninja. You can use a Vitamix. As long as your blender is strong enough to chop everything up, you're good to go. So that's the equipment that you need to use. So next, we're going to go over the ingredients. So this here, obviously it's celery. It's not quite a large stalk of celery, but it'll do. It's getting pretty close to being large stalk. I like to use an English cucumber. So this is the ingredient that gives it that extra volume that I'm talking about. I also like to put in some fresh ginger. I'll put in a whole lemon, and then I add an apple after that. So adding the apple, it's not only going to give you that volume, but it's going to give you a smoother taste by adding that sweetness. Alright, so we're going to start by chopping up the celery, but before I do that, I just get them all off here individually. And when you get to the middle, some of this stuff, you can choose to use this if you want. Personally, I don't like to. From there, I just chop off the ends. I get rid of this part here. I don't like to use that. You can if you like. And once I'm done getting rid of the little leafy part here at the end, next step is washing the celery. So this whole process, it's going to take you, I'd say 30 minutes once you get used to it. The first time I did it, it took a lot longer because I didn't really know what I was doing. You want to make sure you get in every little groove, give it a nice good wash. So I've finished washing the celery. Now it's time to chop it up. So make sure you have several together, so it's going to save you a bit of time. Doesn't need to be exactly the same. It just needs to be small enough to work in the blender. This is the size right here that you should be going for. And once you have that, you can begin to put it in the blender. So you want to gradually blend it up. So you're going to be chopping it up, putting it in, blending, and then you're going to do some more and repeat. Otherwise it's going to be difficult to break it down. And here we go. This is where it starts to happen here. I like to hit a little pulse and then I put it on low. And as you're blending it up, give it a little shake. It's just going to help it all break down a little bit better. And like I said, you're just going to keep on going. So you're going to chop up some more, put it in, and continue. Dump it in. It's slowly starting to turn into more of like a pulp, and we're making a little bit of progress at this point. Once you got your celery in there, it's time to go on to the cucumber next. And it's going to be the same process. You want to wash it. Make sure it's clean. And when you're cutting up the cucumber, it's going to be similar size, so about cubes that are an inch. They don't need to be exact, just small enough to break down in the blender. At this point, you can just throw in the whole cucumber. You don't need to do it bit by bit because celery is already kind of blended up. And this thing is coming in really handy. So if you don't have whatever this is, some kind of spatula, you can use anything that's similar to that, spoon, whatever. Get everything down in there. If you don't do that, you're gonna have a hard time blending this up and turning it into a pulp or anything that's like a juice. Alright, so I have the celery and the cucumber in here, and at this point it's kind of forming to be at the consistency of what a smoothie would be, so we're making some good progress here. Next up, we're going to add the apple here, so same thing, give it a good wash. I'm going to chop it up. I don't like to peel the apple. I like to get the skin in there. There's a lot of benefits the skin provides. Same concept, you're going to chop it up into cubes that are about 1 inch in size. They don't need to be exact as long as they're small enough to break down in the blender. Let's add this into the mix here. We're getting close here. Power on. Alright, so we've added the celery, the cucumber, and the apple. So at this point, it's breaking down pretty good. And it's looking much like a smoothie, so we're making some good progress here. So next up, we're going to be adding some ginger. So I like to add a good amount, so you can see right there, that's a decent amount of ginger right there. I like my celery juice to have a good little kick to it, and adding this much ginger definitely does that. So for the ginger, I chop it up a little bit smaller than the celery and the cucumber and the apple. They're not too small, but the blades don't catch it and break it down a little bit more. So this is the size that I break down the ginger to here. So you can see it's not quite the cubes that are 1 inch, but just a little bit smaller. So we got the ginger in now, and every time you add another ingredient, you want to make sure that you push everything down so you can see how it just sticks on the top there. So you want to make sure it keeps on getting down in there. So every time you turn the blender back on, you're taking full advantage of all the ingredients. Alright, so the last thing we're going to add here is the lemon, so it's going to give it that extra little kick. All you need to do for the lemon here is chop it in half, and then you're going to squeeze it into the blender. So you don't need to worry about the seeds falling in, because all this inside the blender is going to be going into the bag that you're going to be squeezing everything together. So make sure you get as much as possible. Boom. And don't throw this out once you've squeezed it in, because you're going to actually throw this into the bag and get even more out of the lemon. I have all my ingredients ready to go. One last blend and we're ready to squeeze out all that juice. That's looking pretty good. So you want to make sure before you start pouring everything into your bag here, make sure it's inside the saucepan here. Otherwise, you're going to make a big mess everywhere. Because as you can see, I've already started. You can see the juice already pouring out right there. So you want to set up the bag in the saucepan first before you start pouring in everything into the bag. And you get every last drop. So once you have it all in the bag, like I said, hold on to the lemon. You're going to put that right in the bag here too. So once you have it all in here, as well as both halves of the lemon, you're going to start to squeeze it down and give it a good little twist. And then with these bags here, you can tie it off. So instead of having it all at the bottom here, you want to lengthen it out a little bit. And by doing that, you're able to squeeze to see how much juice I'm getting out there. All that extra juice. So if you don't do this, and you just have it all hanging at the bottom, you're not going to get as much juice out of it. And the beauty of lengthening out all that pulp is you can really get a nice good grip on it and just really squeeze everything out. So I know this is quite a process, but I'm telling you, it tastes amazing and the health benefits are unreal. It's kind of hard to keep up with making celery juice every single day, once a week. I think that's a good goal to aim for. Get it in your system, clean out the body a little bit. So you can see what I mean by lengthening out all that pulp in the bag. It just gives you more area to grab onto and squeeze out that extra amount of juice. Alright, so I've squeezed out as much as I can possibly squeeze, and the next step for me is to pour it very carefully into this mason jar here. Like I said at the beginning of the video, it fills up this mason jar here, which is 24 ounces, and I have some left over as well. Alright, and that's it. That's how I make my celery juice. I got 5 ingredients: the celery, the cucumber, the apple, the ginger, and the lemon. So check out the description below. I go through a step-by-step on how to make this recipe, all the equipment you need, and all the ingredients. And if you still have any questions at that point, feel free to message me and I'd be happy to help out. I gotta give this a taste. Cheers. That's good. I like it.